Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Zach Kopp, Justyn Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's going on, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. As you can see, I am sitting here at the table by myself again, but that is because everybody's schedules are still kind of in flux, and, Blake's still at home with the newborn baby, so I'll give him a pass. He's probably got about 4 or 5 more days of that pass, and then I expect him back in here, so his wife can take it from there. I'm sure she'll approve of that message, but today, I'm going to be talking with you guys about the NFL draft prospects, and I've got a draft guru on the show tonight. Brian Bosarge from Deep Fried Draft joins the show to discuss which players that we could see wearing brown and orange in 2022. But before we dive into all that, I want to remind everybody, please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so that way you never miss a new episode. And if you like listening to the podcast, subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, Google. And lastly, if you can't get enough Browns content, head over to jointhedogs.com. Join our official dog pack community on Patreon. Everybody in there is awesome. Diehard Browns fans. We've got a lot of great conversations going on. And it's also just a great way to support the show. We really appreciate everybody in there. We do an extra episode each week called The Dogs After Hours. It's a lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun with that show. So make sure you check that out. Jointhedogs.com. And one final thing before we jump in here with Brian. Do not forget to enter our free Browns jersey giveaway. All you got to do is leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, take a screenshot of that review, and email the screenshot to bark, B-A-R-K, at thedogspodcast.com. So we've gotten a few people to send us screenshots of their 5-star rating, and we appreciate that. That's wonderful, but you need to leave us a 5-star review in order to be entered into this contest. So make sure you write a review and take a screenshot of what you wrote with the 5 stars and send that to us, and then you're into the contest. The first 100 people who enter the contest are going to get a Browns or a Dogs Podcast sticker in the mail. Obviously, you're going to be entered into the contest for the jersey. And for all of our Patreon members, if you're a member of the Dog Pack already, you are automatically entered into the contest, but you can be entered in twice if you go leave your own 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Only Patreon members can enter the contest twice. Just a little bonus for supporting the show. And we're going to be announcing the winner of the jersey on April 28th during our live NFL draft coverage on YouTube. So make sure that you tune into that show. And maybe we're going to be having our guest today on the show with us. If you're available, Brian, for the draft that night.
I will not be.
You will not be? Oh, man. All right. What you got?
Sad to say.
What do you have going on?
We over at my new spot that I'm at, draftcountdown.com, we're going to live stream all 3 nights of the draft on our YouTube channel.
Wow. Okay.
YouTube.com/thedraftcountdown. So pick by pick every night. So that first night when when the Browns fans don't have anything to watch, they can kick on over to our YouTube channel and see what all the fun everybody else is having.
Well, we might be just running you guys on the side of the table here while we're doing our show and just commenting on everything that's going on rather than putting the ESPN coverage up on the TV.
It's going to be fun, man. We're really looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. So everybody go check out, what was it called again? Remind everybody.
YouTube.com/thedraftcountdown and draftcountdown.com is where I ply my trade these days.
Okay. Draftcountdown.com. I will remember that. I'm going to check that out. So I wanted to get you on the show here because, you're a draft guru. This is what you do. You love the draft. We had you on last year. Why don't you just kind of remind everybody how long you've been doing this?
I started my own site, Deep Fried Draft, in 2012, but I've been following the draft since I was 1990. I've watched the draft, every single televised pick of the draft since 1990. I've never missed a pick on television.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's been my thing, man. And like I'm a Bengals fan. You can see from behind me there. So the draft was all that we ever really had. Right, to look forward to, because winning wasn't going to be a thing.
Yeah, we know how you feel.
It used to not be a thing anyway.
Well, let's talk about that just real quick. I had mentioned this when I talked to you earlier in the week. Bengals fan, how do you feel right now? How was that Super Bowl run for you guys?
It was unbelievable because it started with the wild. You haven't won a playoff game in 31 years. And the week before the wild card game, I've never been to a game in Cincinnati. Had never done it. I've never been on an airplane before.
Okay.
And I decided, you know what, that Monday, I'm going to the wild card game. So I flew to Cincinnati on the Friday before the game and flew out on Sunday. It's one of the most amazing experiences of my life, just being in that stadium, to see that hex get lifted, so to speak, and then just to see them go on the run that they did after that, beating the Titans, beating Kansas City, and then for all intents and purposes, probably should have beat the Rams in the Super Bowl if they could have managed to score any offensive points, in the third or fourth quarter. But, things happen and they didn't. But, with Joe Burrow and company, you have to think that, they're going to be in it just as much as everybody else in the AFC powerhouses now. So guess we'll see. But, man, it was awesome and, long time coming.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Burrow, man, I've always been a Joe Burrow fan. I mean, obviously he started Ohio State, that's my school, and it didn't work out there, but I always wanted him to succeed when he went to LSU. And then, of course, he has that phenomenal season, and who's sitting there at the top of the draft to grab him is the freaking Cincinnati Bengals. So now we gotta put up with Joe Burrow for God knows how many years. Oh man, we just got Big Ben out of the division. So
sometimes it's not how bad you suck, it's when you suck.
Yeah. That's right. How did you feel about the officiating at the end of that Super Bowl? Are you're not into that blame?
Yeah, I mean, was the officiating subpar at the end of the game? Yes. Am I going to blame the officiating for the loss? No. Like I said, you had 5 consecutive drives where you scored no offensive points. Just score any points there and you win the game.
Yeah, that's something that we've harped on, like even last season, because the Browns blew some really close games, especially early in the year. They lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Chargers, a game they should have won. All they had to do was get a first down, but there was a bad PI call against it was against the Browns. Mike Williams was actually holding onto the jersey of our defender, and it gave them a first down whenever it was like 3rd and long or something. We were about to get the ball back. And then, of course, they end up winning the game. And it was like, well, you can't let one call from the officials dictate the game. Otherwise, you didn't play very well to begin with the rest of the game. Don't just take them out of the equation.
Exactly. Don't ever let it get in their hands, and you don't have to worry about it. So, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, hopefully, it won't take another 31 years for this to happen again,
Yeah. So I'm just trying to look here. Just off the top of my head, what pick did the Bengals have?
31.
Duh. I got to scroll for you guys a little bit here. Who do you have?
Been a while.
Yeah, it has. Usually, you guys are in the other end like we are. Who do you have kind of mocked going to Cincinnati?
In my last mock this past Monday, I had them taking Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Iowa, just to finish off the offensive line reformation process. I don't know if he'll fall that far or not. It's kind of a hope scenario, but the way the board fell, as I was going along with it, it's just kind of the way it happened. I had a lot of offensive tackles and wide receivers going ahead and kind of pushed him down the board just a little bit. But if not, I think they'll look at targeting maybe an interior pass rusher on the defensive line. I could even see there's only one tight end I think could be in play here, and that's Colorado State's Trey McBride, fresh off his 4.53 40 at his pro day yesterday. His athletic ability and catch radius and everything, I think, would be huge for Burrow over the middle. He'll give you. I'm not taking anything away from CJ Uzomah, but he'll give you more than what you had in that position over the last 4 to 5 years, if that's the case. Maybe even an edge rusher for the Bengals could be in play. Corner also in play. But the good thing is with the money they spent on the offensive line, signing Lyle Collins, signing Alex Kappa, signing Ted Karras, they're not pigeonholed into taking whatever the best offensive lineman is on the board now.
Great. So possibly another weapon for Joe Burrow. That's what every Browns fan wants to hear.
Well,
Yeah, I know. But before we dive into some more Browns center talk, I just want to let everybody know we're going to kind of be focusing a lot of the episode today on wide receivers because we know that's a position of need for the Browns. We want to touch on some defensive line, interior, edge rusher kind of talk as well. And then if time allows, which I'm running the show, so time's going to allow. We're going to do a quick mock draft for everybody, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. So Last year we did like 3 mock drafts, just the 4 of us, but it'll be really nice to have a guy who actually does mocks like you do help me out through the first one here.
I'm here for it, man. I enjoy it.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about which wide receivers you have at the top of your rankings. Let's just kind of talk about the first round. Which receivers do you have going in the first round? And we don't have to spend a ton of time on these guys because I don't think the Browns are going to get any of these guys, but I'll kind of let you take it from there.
All of these guys are so close, man, in my grades. Like, there isn't a whole lot of separation for me with any of the big 5 wide receivers, as we've been calling them on our podcast. That's the 2 Ohio State guys, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, both speed guys. Both can catch, both great route runners in their own right. Then you have 2 guys with the injury questions. Jameson Williams from Alabama, who pre-ACL injury in the championship game was the undisputed number 1 wide receiver for me. And Drake London had an injury, lower leg injury, about halfway through what was on pace to be a record-breaking season at Southern Cal, where he had like 78 catches through the first 8 games.
It says 88 catches.
88 catches.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's on some kind of crazy pace. And then the injury kind of, sidetracked him, and that wasn't even a very good team.
No.
This year, Southern Cal. So, but London's another guy, and then Treylon Burks, who has flirted with being the top wide receiver in this class, but then his subpar testing, it's kind of maybe, I don't want to say he's made him an afterthought, but I think, it's kind of pushed him down. But he's that, people are looking for that Deebo Samuel guy now. That seems to be like the new hot thing, right? And right. Treylon Burks can be a bigger version of that, because Arkansas lined him up all over the field. Mostly they lined him up in the slot, which I don't think is the best use of his skill set, but he was very productive for Arkansas there, but I think he can be very productive outside as well. So those are the 5 guys that I think are going to be I'm going to this point willing to call them locks to go in the first round. Now, Does one start falling towards the end of the first round and the Browns like, hey, let's trade some picks and go up?
Yep. Is there one of these guys that you could see kind of falling down? Would it be Treylon Burks just because of the bad scoring and the combine and everything?
I think that's very possible. I think I want to say I had Burks. Where did I have him going in my last mock draft here? I had him actually going 29 to KC with one of their 2 first-round picks. So I don't know if KC's going to be willing to move back because they have a buttload of picks. I didn't realize I'm doing a team mock draft for them that's going up tomorrow, and I didn't realize how many picks they had until I started doing that. And they have a lot of high draft capital, so I don't know if they're necessarily looking to acquire more picks unless it's future picks, but the Browns really don't have those anymore. So I don't know if that's the team to trade with. Maybe Buffalo or Tennessee might want to come off of, move back a little bit, but those are kind of like the target range. But maybe Burks falls to Detroit at 32 or something like that, and maybe that's a place. Or I don't know that Jameson Williams is going to fall, but maybe there's more to his injuries, or maybe it's same with Drake London that scares some teams off, and maybe the Browns want to take a shot at, maybe we have to wait 6 weeks into the season before we get him, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah. So those are the 5 that you've got locked in the first round. I got to ask you, because we've got a lot of Ohio State Buckeye fans that watch the show, and obviously I'm an alum. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, who you got above who?
Like I said, it's very close. They're currently both 1 and 2 on my wide receiver board right now.
Okay, all right.
But I have Olave 1.
Okay, all right.
And it's for one, and I'll say this just because it's the grade is so close that one thing just sticks out of my head, and it goes back to the playoff game against Clemson and the throw and the catch for the touchdown, the deep route. That play just sticks in my head, and that's why I have Olave ahead of Garrett Wilson.
Obviously I've watched pretty much every college game these 2 guys ever played. And Garrett Wilson was he was just a a different kind of receiver, a difference maker from the start as a true freshman. Chris Olave, I thought he could have gone, obviously, into the draft last year. He didn't. He opted to come back. Was that the best decision? I don't know, but either way, you've got him ranked as your number one receiver in this class.
There's reports coming out today, and like I said, anything you hear now over the next 3 weeks, take everything with the largest grain of salt that you can.
Right.
But there are reports that both of those guys, the NFL is higher on than a lot of draft media, so to speak. Although I've been high on Olave through the whole process. There's even some that think they could both go like in the top 12.
Really?
And maybe one even in the top 10. So it's going to be fun to see if that actually comes to fruition. But it's those reports are out there today, so we'll see.
I feel like Garrett Wilson, at least from my perspective, has got a little bit more of the big play, highlight reel potential. But Chris Olave is a route running savant. Is that what you want to call it? I mean, he's just so smooth in his routes, and he was just a hell of a receiver to watch. I loved him.
Yeah, 100% agree there. I think Atlanta at 8 seems to be the niche spot there that the chic spot that everybody keeps going with the receiver, and Garrett Wilson seems to be the receiver that commonly goes to Atlanta in those mocks recently. So it's definitely a spot to watch.
Okay.
For that.
Yeah, I've seen mocks where Olave obviously goes like later in the first round and he's getting picked up by Green Bay, and I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, Chris Olave with Aaron Rodgers. You want to talk about a guy who's going to be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there? That's Chris Olave.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you, are there now? I guess what would be your next tier after that top 5? What would be like your next tier of receivers, and do any of those guys have a chance of slipping into that first round? I think every year there's 1 or 2 receivers taken in the first round that you're watching and you think, oh, I didn't really see that guy going in the first round, but here he is.
The next tier for me is a one-man gang.
Okay.
I literally have one guy in my next tier of receivers, and I don't think he's going to be on the Browns board because of age, and that's Christian Watson.
Okay.
The wide receiver from North Dakota State. The Browns tend to, whether it's the right thing or not, don't tend to draft guys that'll be 22 years old or older than 22 years old as rookies. They just haven't under the new general manager regime they've had.
Okay.
And Watson will be older than that.
Is he going to be 23?
I think he may even be 24. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I have to check on that. I've checked on that.
Okay.
But I don't want to say he's still raw, but he has some rawness to his game. But at the Senior Bowl, he was dominant in the one-on-ones down here. And then he's at the Combine, he's tested like one of the most athletic wide receivers of all time. I mean, he's like in the top 99.7 percentile of athletes.
Wow.
Testing. So his production isn't going to be as high as some of these other guys just because of the offense that North Dakota State ran. It's the same questions we had about Trey Lance as a quarterback in his production last year. It's just they're a run-based, run-first offense. It's just who they are. It's how they've won 37 straight national championships or whatever at the FCS level. I'm not going to question what they do. It's what they do.
Right.
But Watson, he's big. He's 6'4", 210, and runs in the 4.3s and jumps out of the stadium. And he's a good route runner, catches the ball well. Age is the thing that keeps him, to me, away from the Browns. But he is my next tier receiver. He's currently number 6 on my board. Then after that, you get into some other names. I think, give me the name I think to watch for the Browns. Maybe they come up in the higher part of round 2. Maybe not get into round 1, but maybe they come up into the, late 30s, so to speak. Is George Pickens from Georgia.
Okay.
He's going to fit that age. Almost no production at all in 2021. Was injured either in the preseason but he started coming back, and he actually made a big play in the national championship game against Alabama. So if you go back to his 2019, 2020 tape, you see the skill set you're looking for. And then he tested well like every single other Georgia player did. But I think he's going to move up boards. I've even seen, some mocks with him going as one of Kansas City or Green Bay's picks in the first round. I mean, he's started to hear that buzz. I don't know that he's going to get there, but that would be a guy I think the Browns could target in round 2.
Now, I will say about George Pickens, Browns fans, it would not be the first time that the Browns went after a Georgia player who was really dominant earlier in his college career, got hurt, and then wasn't as productive, but came in the NFL because Nick Chubb has been tearing it up for us for however many years now. 4 years, 5 years.
Exactly. And if it ain't broke, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yep. I like George Pickens. I do.
It's like the Bengals and LSU players at this point. Just get them all.
Yep. If it works, it works.
So maybe they don't go with the receiver in the second round, and maybe they look into that third round area. And that's where you start seeing some other guys I think may be of interest to them, like Jahan Dotson from Penn State.
You think he's going in the third round?
I think it's possible.
Okay.
Second round, maybe he's another one of those guys in the second round that interests them, like Pickens.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it wouldn't surprise me at this point because I think there's going to be people are going to look at the number of wide receivers, and it happens every year, and you start seeing them get pushed down.
That's true.
Because other positions of need start going ahead. So that could be your ticket for Dotson to come down just a smidge. Jalen Tolbert, South Alabama, is another one. Maybe the age is going to be the issue, but you can't argue with his production or speed or size. At South Alabama, he had almost 3 1,000-yard seasons at South Alabama, some of the worst quarterbacking I've ever seen in my life. I saw him play 4 times in person this year, if you include the Senior Bowl. I saw him play 3 times in person last year. So, Tolbert can play, and he's overcome a lot of badness.
Okay.
At the next level. So I can imagine what he can actually do with a quarterback like Deshaun Watson or somebody that can actually get him the football. Keep an eye out in the third round, Khalil Shakir, Boise State.
Okay.
This is he's Christian Watson, but smaller and, but a tremendous route runner. His speed is there as well. And I'm willing to bet the Browns will have heavy interest in him especially because of his production profile and his age. Shakir's been one of the best receivers in the Mountain West Conference for the last 2 years. He's also can be the little gadget guy that he's excelled at that at times as well. So those are some guys I think that the Browns will be interested in on the first couple of days. I think honestly they probably need to come away out of this draft with at least 2.
Yeah, that's what we're thinking too.
Yeah. One early, maybe one in the later rounds, but I think that's probably a safe bet.
So let me ask you, let me ask you 4 other names here. The first one's Justyn Ross. What can you give me on Justyn Ross?
I wouldn't even have him on my board at this point.
Really? Why not?
Well, the testing was so bad, and you're dealing with a guy with coming off a neck injury. And let me see if I can pull up his testing numbers here, just to give you
You're good. Go ahead and pull that up. You're going to upset quite a few of our new Texans fans or Clemson fans that are now following the show.
Well, I'm not one of those. But as you can tell by my shirt here, not going to hear me say much positive about that university.
That's fair enough. That'd be like me evaluating a Michigan guy. Oh, but I do like DPJ.
6'3", 205, but runs his 10-yard split of 1.76. That's not good.
Okay.
4.6, 40 for Justyn Ross. Only a 31.5-inch vertical. 9-foot 8-inch broad jump. His RAS score right now is in the 25th percentile.
Okay.
And a neck injury. No thanks.
Okay, well we can move on from Justyn Ross. I think you've swayed me away from him. How about John Metchie III?
Another guy coming off an injury, but he was very productive at Alabama. In the shadows of, this was supposed to be his year, right? This was supposed to be his year to emerge. And then, lo and behold, Jamison Williams comes around and whoops.
Yep.
But Metchie was still productive regardless. I think if you can get him in the third round, I'd be okay with it. We're not going to get any testing data on him, though. I do not think he's going to run any at all before the draft. So you're kind of left to hopes and dreams as far as what his full profile is going to look like. But his production has been really good. So I would not hate John Metchie in the third round if I was a Browns fan.
Yeah, I guess he didn't get hurt until the SEC championship game, it says, but he had 96 catches for 1,142 yards and 8 touchdowns last year, which that's not bad. That's not bad. I would take that in a heartbeat. I know I said 4 names, but now I'm scrolling and I'm seeing names that we've got listeners that keep throwing names at us and all the time. What about Calvin Austin III?
Oh, man. There was no sweeter feat in the one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl than Calvin Austin.
Okay.
Oh, man. It was so fun to watch him just dicing up these corners. And, he's a slight build. That's just something you'll have to make peace with. He's not going to win any wrestling contest.
Yeah, 5'9", 162.
5'8",
170.
5'0", 170 is his official weigh-in. But 1.44 10-yard split, 4.3 240, 39-inch vertical, 11-foot 3-inch broad jump. His shuttle 6.65 3-cone. Yeah, that's a guy I want. And he's another guy. Third round would be maybe where you target him. Like I said, with Khalil Shakir, with the third round pick, if I'm the Browns, that would probably be because he's not going to last into day 3. I don't believe.
Okay. All right. 2 more. David Bell from Purdue.
I'm out at this point.
You're out.
David Bell, despite his tremendous production, he couldn't separate in college, but he overcame it, and still, like I said, just great numbers at Purdue the last 3. I think was he over 1,000 the last 3 years?
I don't have the stats right in front of me.
I believe it's pretty close, if not. But he ran again at his pro day, and he ran slower at his pro day than he did the combine, which seems like it shouldn't be a thing that happens. But 4.65 for him at 6 foot 212, 9'10" broad jump. Vertical wasn't there. His shuttles were poor. Like he's testing almost below 40% athleticism. I love his production, but I guess you'd have to. How are you going to use him? Because you're going to have to basically get him open because he's not going to be able to get himself open.
Well, that's no good, especially in the NFL. We've seen. I think N'Keal Harry pops immediately to mind of a guy who just cannot get separation, and it shows that he's got next to no production now. The last guy that I'll bring up as far as wide receivers go is the guy that I get the most questions about, or not even questions, just emphatic Browns fans saying, this is the guy, and it's Wan'Dale Robinson.
Wan'Dale Robinson can separate.
Okay.
That we know. He also tested poorly. And it's like he did not test like you would think that he would. And the problem that he's going to have is his short arms.
Oh, okay.
His arms measured in at 27 and 5/8 inch arms. One of the smallest, I think, that might be in this draft class of wide receiver prospects. This becomes an issue because in the NFL, it's very tight windows.
Yes.
And you need to give the quarterback all you can. And if your arms are 4 to 5 inches shorter than the defender that's covering you, not great. You have to hope that he can get himself wide open, which he has proved that he can do. And once he gets the ball in his hands, he's magic. But he just has to. That's going to be an issue. Could the Browns look at him in the third round? Possibly. I could see him being there, but I could also see him dropping into day 3 as well.
Okay. I lied to you. I got one more name. I just scrolling. I don't think we mentioned Skyy Moore.
Skyy Moore seems to be the darling of everybody's eye.
I know, that's why I had to bring him up because people keep saying Skyy Moore.
And I, very well could be. I'm not as high on Skyy Moore because I am late to the ball game on Skyy Moore. To be honest, that's the God's honest truth. I only watched one game of his this year, and then all of a sudden I started seeing mocks with him in as early as the late first round. And I'm like, really? So I asked my partner at Draft Countdown, and he's like, no, he's really good.
Okay.
And he tested above average. I mean, his 74 percentile athlete, but his production was great at Western Michigan. So, yes, he's definitely a wild card here. I mean, there's some that have him, like I want to say Chris Trapasso at CBS Sports has him as the number 3 receiver in this class.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's some wild infatuations with Skyy Moore with some people in the draft media.
Yeah,
I'm not there.
I'm just looking on.
I think he's definitely going to go he's probably going to go in the second round.
Well, I was looking at PFF and they got him projected second round, but they say he has wide receiver 1 type of movement skills. Mm-hmm. And it says his floor is a quality slot option, which, I mean, you always need that in the NFL. So at the very worst, you draft this guy and he's a quality slot receiver. Okay. So you didn't hit the home run, but you still got probably a solid double out of that one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like I said, he's gonna be productive in the NFL. I just don't know how high I would draft him, or would I draft him over some of these other guys that I think are more of a home run threat to me? Like I like Jalen Tolbert of South Alabama more than I do Skyy Moore.
Okay. So let's go back to, did you say you just did your most recent mock yesterday?
Monday.
Did you mock a wide receiver to the Browns at 44?
I did. Only went to one round, so I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I didn't go that far.
Gotcha. If you had to mock, I guess just kind of project out a little bit what we've talked about here for wide receivers, who would you, if the Browns go wide receiver at 44, who would you mock there?
I think if I went that far, and depending on how the board fell, like I said, I would have to do it out. I think George Pickens is probably the guy that I could see most likely appealing to them at 44 as far as receivers that would still be on the board.
I would take him. I'd sign me up for George Pickens at 44. If he's there, that would be absolutely awesome. I just want to remind everybody about DraftKings. Make sure you join in on the action on the court during the biggest tournament of the year with DraftKings Sportsbook. Turn your team's victory into your own big win. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. It's that simple. If they win, you win. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still join the college hoops action with DraftKings Pools. Everybody can play free pools all March long for a shot at a share of over $250,000 in prizes. Simply join a pool and answer questions like who will make it to the next round and who will hit the most three-pointers, and track your results. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code TPPN. Bet $5 on any college hoops team to win and get $200 in free bets if they do. If they win, you win with promo code TPPN. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, you must be 21 years or older to play. Restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Before we kind of shift gears into the defensive line, I just kind of want to get your quick perspective on the quarterbacks. I know I didn't ask you this beforehand, but I'm hearing all kinds of stuff about this quarterback class is not great at all. But we know from past experience that there are going to be teams that are reaching on quarterbacks, especially even in the first round, that are going to help the Browns out essentially and push other quality players that we need back toward us.
It's going to happen. It shouldn't happen. There's a reason you've seen all this quarterback movement this offseason.
Yeah.
Teams just trading all these picks, Broncos, Russell Wilson, Washington thinking Carson Wentz is still any good and trading picks for him.
Yeah.
Indianapolis acquiring Matt Ryan on the twilight of his career just because they didn't want to draft one of these guys either. Cleveland trading 3 first-round picks for Deshaun Watson because none of these guys were better than Baker Mayfield.
What about Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh?
I think they're going to draft a quarterback. So I don't think Mitch Trubisky's he may start 2022. I don't think he's going to start in Pittsburgh much beyond that.
That's kind of what I meant, though, is as far as Mitch Trubisky being a bridge so that they don't have to draft a quarterback this year and maybe they can get one next year. But you think they're going to take one this year?
I would be surprised if the Pittsburgh Steelers do not come out of the first round with either Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett.
Okay. I've heard a lot of Kenny Pickett, to Pittsburgh. Obviously the Pitt connection there at college. He played in Heinz Field, so.
And there's very few at this point dots you can't connect to Mike Tomlin and Malik Willis at this point. He's almost openly stalking at this point.
Yeah, I was hearing about that. Was that the Senior Bowl And he just
It was
kind
the
of started
Senior Bowl,
following
then
him
his
around.
Pro day and everything else. I mean, the combine, he's chatting him up. It's not a secret at this point. I think Mike Tomlin's either he is creating the largest smokescreen of all time, or the dude is like in love with Malik Willis.
So, as a fellow AFC North team cheerer, I know those aren't the best words in the world, but how do you feel about the possibility of Malik Willis coming in to be the new quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers that you got to face 2 times a year?
Doesn't scare me in the least.
Okay, so you're not high on any of these quarterbacks whatsoever.
No.
Okay. That kind of confirms what I've been hearing about the class.
I watched 3 games in the Senior Bowl of Malik Willis this year. I watched the Lending Tree Bowl against Eastern Michigan in the rain. He was great. He was great at the Senior Bowl. As a great's not a good term. He was good at the Senior Bowl.
Okay.
I also watched them play against Ole Miss and Syracuse, and he was sacked a combined 15 times.
All right.
His pocket awareness, and even against Eastern Michigan, while he was only sacked 1 time in that game, but his pocket awareness was not great at all. So that is the thing that he needs time. This is why maybe it's not the worst thing in the world for him to go to Pittsburgh, and he sits behind Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh, I thought you meant so that way we could get a couple easy wins every year.
Well, but I thought the same thing. I hate to say this, but I thought the same thing about Josh Allen. I thought there was no way that Josh Allen was going to be a good NFL quarterback.
And it didn't look like it right at first either.
No, but now because you generally do not develop accuracy as you go along through the NFL. You either have it or you don't.
Okay.
Josh Allen did not. I mean, he was like a 55% passer at Wyoming, and I saw him almost kill a kid in practice at the Senior Bowl, overthrowing the little net that they throw the balls in. He overthrew it and hit a kid over the fence.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like I did not think that he would become, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, which he is right now. There's no arguing that. So he is the exception, not the rule at this point. So that's why I'm going to continue I currently have Malik Willis as in like maybe my 50th or 60th overall player in this class. I only have one quarterback in my top 32 overall players. That's Kenny Pickett, and he's like 30.
Wow. All right. Well, usually the sexy thing to talk about is quarterbacks when you're talking NFL draft, and I think we're just going to move right on past that now because I'm not turned on at all by any of
Or
that.
Jacksonville. I mean, they had the number 1 pick and can't, so they probably couldn't give it away at this point.
Yeah. So you think Aiden Hutchinson will be the first name called?
Certainly seems to be trending that way.
Okay. Michigan guy. Yeah. Defensive line. So other than, I don't really want to dive into like the first round prospects. Tell me what you think. I feel like if the Browns go defensive line, it'll be in that second round because we just talked about all the receivers that very possibly could be available in the third round. So talk to me about the discrepancy there, like as far as available defensive line talent in the second round versus the third against the wide receiver talent in the second versus the third.
I think if you have the choice right now and your top-rated defensive lineman's on the board and your top-rated wide receiver on the board, I think you take the defensive lineman because I think you're going to be able to get someone of maybe not the same guy, but someone of a similar grade in round 3. I think the depth in that interior defensive line class isn't near as deep as what it is at wide receiver. So if they have a guy that they like at 44, at defensive line, I think that probably is where they go. And I want to say I did a Browns mock draft like recently.
Oh, well, that'd be handy. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah, it was like maybe a week or so ago.
So while you're looking for that, just a name as far as pass rusher goes that I've been getting a little bit of back and forth on social media with some fans is Drake Jackson out of USC.
Yeah, he was a top 5 prospect for us at Draft Countdown before the season.
Oh, and Kind of worked it, played himself out of that, huh?
Then the season kind of happened, and you're like, oh, he's not very good this year.
Okay.
But his 2020 tape and his 20, not unlike George Pickens, except without the injury. His was just subpar tape. But his 2019, 2020 tape, really, really good. And then his testing this offseason has got you rethinking, okay, maybe he is the guy that we thought he was. He's tested really well. So, but I consider him being more of an edge than a interior defensive lineman. But you currently need one of those too right now.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of looking at edge and interior kind of combined here, because I feel like the Browns value that edge rusher position at a higher priority than they would the interior defensive line. And I do think that through free agency, the Browns can build a very solid interior defensive line. Still, there's
one that's passable.
Yes, a respectable defensive. I
still think before the end of the day that Clowney's back.
I do too. Yeah.
But when it's all said and done, when he realizes he's stops trying to be a mercenary here, he'll come back. Maybe it's another 1 year. Maybe he just plays 1 year deals the rest of his career. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it ended. But even if he does sign, I think you still need a third guy.
Oh yeah, definitely we do. Yep.
So it's that. So Drake Jackson very well could be one of the guys they're looking for. I wouldn't be surprised if Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati is another edge that's in play there. Very productive guy for the Bearcats. At the combine, he weighed 245 at the Senior Bowl and weighed in at 228 at the combine. And everybody were freaking out. Turns out he had the flu.
Oh, okay.
And dude lost like 12 pounds in 3 days.
That happens.
But still tried to work out. I don't know if I was him, if I would have done that, because he gets back to his pro day. He weighs 247.
Okay.
So the question was answered. And I think, like I said, I think he's a guy that fits that situational pass rusher that the Browns could use there, maybe as a third down guy, come in and move. Like when you inevitably bring Clowney back, you kick him inside on passing downs and you let Sanders eat off the edge. I think that could be a guy. Drake Jackson, on the other hand, is a guy I think can bulk up enough that he could be in what I just said with Clowney, where he goes inside, on pass downs, but sets the edge on first and second. In that mock draft I did last week, I had them taking Perrion Winfrey, the interior pass rusher from Oklahoma. Dominated at the Senior Bowl, was the Senior Bowl game MVP, 2 sacks in the game. He's a guy that he gets after it from the middle, and everybody's looking for that because everybody wants some Aaron Donald, right? They want to try to replicate that. You can't recreate Aaron Donald in a lab, so you have to try to find somebody as close as you can to him. I don't know if Perrion Winfrey's in that neighborhood, but he's at least lives in the same town as Aaron Donald.
Hey, if you're going to mention Aaron Donald's name in any sort of connection to one of these guys that the Browns could potentially end up with, I'll take it.
Yeah, I do think I'm very high on Perrion Winfrey. He's currently my number 2 interior defense. I actually have him ahead of Jordan Davis.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now he's not going to go as high as Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it. When you do what Jordan Davis did at the combine, you're that guy's going. Well, unfortunately, I have a feeling we're going to end up. Both of our teams are going to end up seeing him a couple times a year. If you know what I mean.
Wonderful.
Purple may be his new color.
Yeah, just what they need, another one of those.
But Travis Jones, UConn, is another guy that I love. And I saw him basically in one-on-ones at Senior Bowl, taking guards with one arm and just walking them right back to the quarterback. He had a sack during the Senior Bowl game as well. But he's could be more of that nose tackle if need be, and that's kind of where he played at UConn. He's 6'4", 333, but his testing was outstanding as well for a guy that size. And he has pass rush upside, more than you would think based off his numbers from UConn. Like I said, he was played more nose for them. So he's a guy I think could be a Browns target at 44. A couple other edge guys I could see being around there. Maybe he doesn't go in the first round, and if he falls a little bit, Boye Mafe, Minnesota, is a guy I could see. Maybe the Browns trade up a little bit for him just to get his athleticism. One of the most athletic prospects this year at the Combine from his defensive end position. Mafe, another one, had 2 sacks during the Senior Bowl game. It was a lot of sacks in the Senior Bowl game, in case you haven't picked up on that. But Mafe at 6'3", 261, 156, 10-yard split, 4.53, 40, 41.5-inch vertical for a guy that size, 4'2", 20-yard shuttle. I mean, is 99% athlete, Boye Mafe. So a guy I could definitely see the Browns targeting, and I know another Browns guy that writes for the Browns loves him, some Nigerian prospects. So would fit right in with that.
Cool.
Lineage, so to speak. But Mafe is a guy. And if you get into the third round, I think there's some other guys to look for. Amari Barno, Virginia Tech, a bit slight for an edge, but ran sub 4.40 at the Combine. So
okay. All right. Were that kind of, is that kind of the end of the list of names you wanted to hit there as far as the Browns maybe in the second or maybe third round area?
Another guy maybe who's kind of I don't want to call him a tweener, but I think he can do both interior and outside, and that's Logan Hall from Houston. I don't like him as much as I did his teammate last year, Peyton Turner, who ended up going in the first round of the Saints. I had him as a 9th overall prospect last year. I don't have Hall that high, but I think he can rush the passer. He also tested fairly well. And you start getting into some other guys that maybe are a bit more on the raw side. Dominique Robinson, Miami, Ohio. Former wide receiver, now pass rusher. You don't see that conversion very often, do you?
No, not often at all.
But 6'4", 252, he also tested. Well, he tested like a guy who used to be a wide receiver and now plays defensive end. So I think he might actually be maybe a third-round target, potentially maybe even fourth round.
That's crazy because usually you see that like a big wide receiver like that will go to tight end, not edge rusher.
Crazy how it works.
Yeah, it is. But hey, that's awesome. That's good to know. Appreciate you giving us, all those names to look at. It's just a lot to take in. I know things are probably still going to be shifting and moving as we get closer to draft season. So I'd love to have you back on at least one more time, maybe a couple times between now and draft season, just to touch base on some of these prospects, risers, fallers, and things like that. Real quick, you said you did do a full Browns mock draft?
I did.
Okay, do you just kind of want to run through those players before we dive into our mock draft here at the end of the show?
I can do that. At second round, pick 44, Perrion Winfrey, defensive line, Oklahoma. Round 3, pick 78, Khalil Shakir, wide receiver, Boise State, who I talked about earlier. Round 3, pick 99, Amari Barno, the edge rusher, Virginia Tech, sub 4.4 defensive end guy I just spoke about. Round 4, 118, I went JT Woods, safety, Baylor. Round 6, pick 202, Kyron Johnson, kind of a hybrid edge linebacker guy from Kansas. Round 7, pick 223, Sterling Weatherford, a safety linebacker, special teams guru, 6'4", 210-pound safety, can played linebacker at the Senior Bowl from Miami, Ohio. And round 7, pick 246, a very intriguing, athletic, 6'7", 260-pound tight end prospect, Austin Allen from Nebraska.
Okay. All right. What's up, Browns fans? I just want to tell you real quick about Built Bar. Built Bar is the world's first ever protein candy bar, or it might actually be a candy protein bar. Either way, Built Bar provides the nutritional snack you need for a healthy diet without that nasty, chalky taste of a traditional protein bar. Get 10% off your order when you use promo code BARK, B-A-R-K, at Built.com. That's promo code BARK for 10% off your order at Built.com today. Well, let's go ahead and dive into this quick mock draft that you and I are going to do here together. I'm going to try to throw this up on the screen without breaking anything, hopefully. So we'll do all 7 rounds. All right, let's just make sure this is coming up. Can you see it now?
I can.
Okay, awesome. All right, so Brian and I are going to do this mock draft. We are not going to do any trades today. I think we'll play around, have some fun in the next few weeks. We'll maybe do some trades and see what we can come up with. Maybe get the Browns into the first round to go get Chris Olave, right? I've seen a lot of you listeners out there sending us pictures of your mock drafts, like on Twitter and things, and everybody's got the Browns taking Chris Olave in the first round. I said, the Browns front office needs to get a hold of you guys. Figure out these trades. So,
who needs those picks?
Yeah, right. Who needs them? Who needs them? All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and click start here. Let it run through. I just saw a couple of the receivers go off the board on the side there. Malik Willis looks like he's playing in New Orleans. Browns are coming up.
Very possible.
So Skyy Moore went to the Falcons at 43 right before us. So let's look at who's available here. As far as, what do you know about, I mean, would the Browns have any interest in the edge out of Oklahoma, Nick Bonito?
He's another guy. Bonito is he's smallish type of guy, but he can get after it off the edge. He's very productive. I don't know that 44 is where he'll get, maybe, but he can definitely rush the passer for sure. 4.54, 40 guy, 6'3", 248. 93% athlete though. So yeah, okay. Bonito could definitely be in play.
So go ahead and look at the screen here, Brian, and just let me know. I'm going to start kind of at the top here. So I don't think we're going corner. Linebacker's never a big thing for the Browns, really. We've got a couple edge rushers here. There's you talked about Logan Hall. And then there's George Pickens, the wide receiver. And as far as other wide receivers, there's Jalen Tolbert, Justyn Ross. Now we're getting into that kind of area. Are you seeing any names here that are popping out that you think?
I didn't see like Winfrey or who was the other defensive line? Travis Jones. There's Jones at 33. I don't know if Winfrey or maybe PFF is lower on him than I am.
They might be. Oh, there he is. There
he is. 81.
Okay, so are we?
In theory, here you could probably maybe he's on the board at 78.
Yeah, it's possible.
If we want to go George Pickens here.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's go George Pickens if I can find him up here. There he is. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we will draft wide receiver George Pickens out of Georgia. Browns go and get their guy. Now we're going to wait till 78. Now. We did a lot of PFF mocks last year. I know it's not exactly the way, somebody like yourself would have these guys mocked up, but if Perrion Winfrey is still here.
He just went, I do believe. I saw his name go by.
Yep, he did. A couple picks before us to the Seahawks. Okay, so this is where, when I've been doing mock drafts, I've kind of been running into a problem. When I take a receiver at 44, I'm left with not a whole lot of guys I'm thrilled with at the defensive line. So
see, this is where I feel like maybe we should have, because now you're almost buyer's remorse now because you see Shakir is available, John Metchie is available, Calvin Austin's available. So this is kind of goes back to what I said earlier, where if they're even in grades, maybe you go with, but with PFF's grades here, you have Winfrey was 87, so he wasn't anywhere near the same grade as George Pickens. So that's why you kind of went with, you would go with Pickens there. So
right. So, but if we would have gone with Winfrey at 44, then we would have had our pick. We could have gone Metchie, Austin. We could have gone with Shakir. So let this
be a lesson to you in future Browns mock drafting.
Yeah, and it will be, because this is exactly what I've experienced doing mock drafts on PFF, and here we are again sitting in that same situation. I'm glad we did this just to kind of talk through it. So if this was the situation, who on the board right now would you pick for the Browns?
How interested would you be in a Mike linebacker?
Oh, I don't think it would hurt. Because I know go ahead.
Did I see Chad Muma still available? Or did he go earlier? I'm not. could have swore I saw his name, but maybe I'm mistaken. Okay, it looks like I was wrong. So,
okay,
I don't mind Darian Beavers, the Cincinnati linebacker, who was, I think, the top available player, if that's where you wanted to go. Beavers tested superbly at his pro day. He has great size, and he's a finisher. 6'3", 237, 4'7", 40 guy. Tested 95% of all athletes in this draft class. I think he could be an upgrade for sure over Anthony Walker, I guess.
okay.
So I think that could be a spot here, because I don't know that any of these edge guys are wowing me here. Like, I don't think Josh Paschal is there for me right now. I think your offensive line is probably okay. Not really in need of an upgrade on the interior, but I do love Cole Strange, the Chattanooga guard there. Now, see, here we go with these guys, and like Phidarian Mathis he can rush the pass. He had 9 sacks this year for Alabama.
Okay,
so he is a productive interior rusher. Is he still on the board at 99 though? I don't know, but I can tell you this: none of these other guys I'm going anywhere near.
Okay, so Mathis is the only one out of that list. What about if we drop down here and just looked at the edge real quick?
There's Sanders, and I just talked to. I think he could be good here.
Okay,
for the Browns.
So would you pull the trigger on him instead of doing what we did last time and hoping that Winfrey fell?
I think so.
Okay.
I think let's go with Myjai Sanders here at pick 78.
Okay, we will do that. And now we're going to go a few picks into the future. Pick 99. We are back on the clock. So we got one of our receivers, I guess, because we talked about Brown should probably try to come away with 2. We did go grab an edge rusher there at the last pick. So what are you thinking here for this pick at 99?
Did Mathis go?
What's that?
Did Phidarian Mathis go?
Oh, let me pull down. We'll just go there quick. Looks like it. Yep, he's gone.
So, like I said, we're not going to get one of those guys high anyway. So now I'm looking at. So at this point now we're looking at depth, and because we're not getting a starter now, that's kind of where we're at. So I am almost. Wanting to maybe get another corner or a safety here. Let's look at the safeties.
Okay. So we'll go down to, there we go, safety. So you got Nick Cross, Sterling Weatherford, Marquise Bell, Leon O'Neal. Any of these guys? Nick
Cross is interesting to me because he can play nickel and he can play safety. And was a very productive pass rusher. Out of the coming up on the line for Maryland this year, and he also tremendous at the combine. Nick Cross, 6 foot 212, 4.34 in the 40, 37-inch vertical, 10 foot 10-inch broad jump, 99% athlete. Nick Cross.
So
if nothing else, your special teams are better.
Okay, so is he the guy to pull the trigger on?
I think so. Let's pull the trigger on Nick Cross here at pick 99.
Okay. We will take Nick Cross, and then we'll wait a little bit here. We'll get to pick 118 for the Browns' next selection. We are on the clock. Now, I will say you know what? I'm not going to say what I've been doing. I'll let you do. You tell me what you're thinking here.
Okay, so we just drafted a safety. Now, let's look at Matthew Butler there from Tennessee, still on the board, defensive lineman. We know we're going to need one at some point. Butler, 6 foot, a little shade under 6'4", 297, 70% athlete, but had really good at the Shrine game by all accounts, and decent testing. Decent athlete. Okay. I think he's a guy that was a rotational piece, could be good here, and the value is there as he's 112 here. We're 118, so everything lines up for Matthew Butler from Tennessee with this pick.
Okay, so I will pull the trigger on that. So now we just went and we got an interior defensive lineman. So we've gone receiver, edge, safety, and interior D-line. So now we're rolling on. We've got a little bit of time to wait now. So we're
to the dart throwing portion of the draft now.
Yeah, correct. The 200. So we're going to be coming up on pick 202 here. I should have set this thing to super fast. Okay, here we are. All right, let's see who's on the board here. As far as wide receivers, nobody we've talked about, of course.
All right, there is one player here that we're going to pull the trigger on.
Oh, cool. Who is it?
We're getting us a punter.
You've been talking to Barry Shuck, haven't you?
We're going to draft. I'm going to be honest. He's not going to be available at pick 202.
Okay, that's what he said too.
It's not going to happen. But if he is, give me punt God all day long.
Areza?
Oh yes.
Okay. All right.
Have you not seen this guy's highlights?
I don't watch YouTube highlights of punters. Just not what I do. I don't know. But I get it. And we had a lot of people after last week's show because we talked to Barry and he brought him up as he said, "Would you take a punter in the 4th round?" And we were all like, "No way, we're not taking a punter in the 4th round."
I would take Areza in the 3rd round.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I've never said that about a special teams player ever. I've been on team never draft any kicker, punter, long snapper at all. But then I watched this guy. When I watch games during the college football season, I fast forward through every special teams rep. Just go.
Fair enough.
Not when I watch San Diego State. I wanted to watch this guy.
Really?
There was a game against Hawaii, and you can look it up. It's readily available on Twitter, YouTube, or whatever. Just look up Matt Areza, Hawaii.
Okay.
Just Google that after this show's over with. Hawaii thought they were being cute. They put a punt returner at the 30 and a punt returner at the 10. He kicks from his own 20-yard line. It goes into the end zone.
Really?
He kicked it over the head of 2 guys.
Okay. Hey, man, you are the draft expert. I'm going to give it to you. You're the second person now in the last week to say, need to look at this guy. And I don't know, man. Somehow you just got me all pumped and excited about a punter. So here we go. We're going to draft him. I'm going to check out those highlights because
you got to do it.
I feel like I'm missing out big time.
He's the only kicking prospect I've ever gotten excited about. So let's look at our wide receivers now because I said we were going to take 2.
Yes. So I'll just pull those up.
We need to look at see what's available here. I don't even know who Malachi Carter is. That's sad. I feel like I've watched 100 guys and I've not watched him.
We are in the 7th round, so.
Oh, I guess so.
Yeah.
Let's Mackay Pope. No, Reynolds. Here we go. Here's your guy right here. Rank 343, Isaiah Weston.
Okay.
Well, let me give you a little profile here on your future Northern Iowa wide receiver here in the 7th round.
All right.
Isaiah Weston, 6'3", 214, 149, 10-yard split, 4'4", 240, 40-inch vertical, 11-foot 3-inch broad jump, 99.9% athlete. I'm gonna take a chance on that guy in the 7th round, right?
I mean,
what's the worst that can happen? He's a punt gunner.
I mean, you saw what they did with Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 6th round a few years ago, and he right now he's like our number 2 receiver. So, all right, yeah. Isaiah
Weston here.
Okay, so we've got 1 pick left, pick 246 here in the 7th round, and we'll see who Brian wants us to take. Another punter.
Like I have to take an offensive lineman here just to see what happens here.
Okay.
I feel like you need to take one guy, if for nothing else, to help out the practice squad, so to speak, because I think whoever you take here is not going to make the team.
Okay.
So here we go. Let's look at right here from Fordham, Nick Zakel. He can play tackle at Fordham. Had a great game against Nebraska. The only game of his I watched this year before the Senior Bowl was at the Senior Bowl. Played guard all week down there, probably because he has 32.5-inch arms. But I think, in a pinch, if he needed to play tackle for a couple of plays, sure, why not? I think he can back up at the very least, he can back up your two interior positions. Like I said, he's a guy that you want on your practice squad because guys are going to get hurt, and if you've got him in the system, he's a solid player. So let's go with Nick Zakel. Jay is silent.
Okay.
With the last pick here.
All right, so the draft is rounding out right now, and we're going to get a grade. We'll see how we did.
I don't think it's going to be great.
I don't think it is either. I think that we've kind of seen what happens. Let me see if I can make this a little smaller here so we can see it. Hey, B minus. That's not awful. So George Pickens at 44 was a B plus pick, but then is it Myjai Sanders? The edge rusher out of Cincinnati got us a D. So I think that was kind of rough. Nick Cross, B plus. Matthew Butler got you an A minus there, Brian. The defense or interior D lineman. Matt Ariza got a D, but I mean, I don't know how much value PFF is putting on punters, so
probably not a lot.
Yeah, so obviously that's going to bring down a grade, but if he's a difference maker for your team, that's all that matters. Isaiah Weston, nice one. That was a B minus right there, and then Nick Zakel at the end, C plus. Overall, B minus. Not bad for the first mock, and
not bad for
kind of, honestly, I feel like we sort of screwed it up. And
probably a better student than I was in high school, if we're going to be honest.
I think that's fair. But I think that we can see now, if the Browns stay pat, which we know teams never do, there's always trading and moving a little bit here and there at the very least, but wide receiver at 44 might not be the best option if that's where we're going to stick. It might be a defensive lineman, whether it be edge or interior, because we saw that there's going to be plenty of wide receivers, and maybe not plenty, maybe 3 or 4 that we're going to be satisfied with in the third round, don't you think?
I believe so, yeah. Yes. And I even said that and went against what I said earlier with the pick. But, looking back on it now, Drake Jackson was available at pick 44 when we made this pick. So in this scenario, pick Drake Jackson at 44.
Would you take him over Winfrey? Because he was available too.
I guess it really depends on what this is definitely going to be Brown specific.
Yeah.
And it may, how long of a deal do they re-sign Clowney before the draft, and how many years is that deal for?
Okay.
If Clowney's on a multi-year deal, maybe you go with Winfrey. If Clowney's not re-signed or he's on another 1-year deal, then maybe you go with Drake Jackson. And maybe you go with Drake Jackson anyway and just give yourself 3 of those guys to throw it. Because, I mean, it ain't just Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson you're having to deal with now in the AFC. It's now Russell Wilson and,
Justin Herbert.
And heck, even Derek Carr now, you're giving him Devontae Adams to throw to. Even Tua, who is above average, I think. I don't think he's a stellar quarterback by any stretch at the moment, but now he's got Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill to throw to. Right. So, I mean, it's the AFC. I mean, to be honest, they should change the playoff structure this year and just go with, 10 AFC teams and 4 NFC teams, because that's really only that's deserving in the NFC anyway at this point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you could see the number 1 seed in the AFC being 11-6. Would not shock me at all.
That's crazy. Well, we've been talking about that AFC West division just kind of beating up on itself out there, so. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's definitely going to be an interesting season. Thank you. I appreciate you jumping in here and talking draft prospects with us. I think our listeners are going to love this. I love your insight, your perspective on these guys, the research you do. I think it's very well done, very professional, and you're just a cool guy to talk to. So. Always have fun.
I appreciate that, Josh. And like I said, I'll talk draft with anybody, anywhere. It's just so fun to do.
Yeah.
And, even a Browns podcast.
I guess if you got to scrape the bottom of the barrel, right, you can make it happen. But we'll definitely we'll get you back on the show here before draft night, considering that we won't be able to have you on draft night, but we'll be watching too. Tell everybody where to find you again, just because I cannot remember the new name off the top of my head.
Follow me on Twitter at Deep Fried Draft. That's the easiest way to get everything that I'm going to do.
Okay.
And the news site that I write for, it's not a news site by any means, but draftcountdown.com. Me and my partner put daily something new up every day.
Nice.
New stuff every day to read there. And we're going to live stream on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/thedraftcountdown for you Ohio State fans out there that insist on putting the word "the" in front of everything. youtube.com/thedraftcountdown. We do our podcast live every Wednesday night at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and we're going to live stream. We live streamed all 4 nights of the Combine, which was rough.
Nice. Yeah, I bet.
I think we're going to have a lot more fun live streaming every single pick of the NFL draft on our YouTube channel. So, yeah, be sure and follow us there and subscribe to it and all that good stuff. We have a good time with it every week, and we're going to have a real good time with it during the draft. Sounds awesome. Well, I mean, I guess that is probably why you can also find us on every social media platform at The Dogs Podcast. Go to thedogspodcast.com and also go to thedogspodcast.com/store. We've got a new storefront out there for merch. If you guys want some Dogs Podcast merch, got some new designs and new designs coming, and some might be focused around some of these new players we get. Maybe a George Pickens, design for a t-shirt. I don't know. We'll see how things go. But Brian, thanks again for joining us. Everybody, make sure you do not forget the contest. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Take a screenshot, send it to bark@thedogspodcast.com. And everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at the Dogs Podcast, and become an official Dog Pack member and join thedogs.com.